I'm Scott Culpepper and welcome to Ingles Table. Today we're going to prepare a delicious recipe perfect for the fall. This is my homemade butternut squash gnocchi with fried sage and a brown butter sauce. I got everything I need from my local Ingles, so let's get started. First off, we're gonna make the butternut squash. We need to roast the squash. So we need 2.5 cups of roasted squash, which is about a 3-pound whole raw butternut squash. So what I've done is I've taken it, I'm leaving the skin on for roasting, but I've cut it into small pieces about 1/4, half-inch thick. So when we roast them, we're gonna lay them flat on a cooking sheet. We're gonna roast them at 390 for about 10 to 15 minutes. So they're gonna come out, we're gonna sweat as much water out of these as possible. Once they're out and easy to handle, then we're gonna go ahead and just remove the roasted rind. So once that's done, we're gonna make the pasta part of it. So I've already started out here with a batch that I've already made, but to make the pasta, you're gonna use 2.5 cups of flour. Put that little mound on top of the flour mountain, and then you can grate the pureed pasta. Puree with a food processor, immersion blender, or if you have a potato ricer, that works great too. Just puree it right on top of the flour. Beat an egg, pour that egg over there. Season it with salt and pepper and a little bit of nutmeg. And then to combine everything, we're gonna use 2 forks. It's gonna take a while. You don't wanna over-process the dough. So mix everything with the fork. And as you're doing that, you're just gonna spread it out until everything is combined. Once it's combined, form it into a round loaf, like a small loaf of bread. I've cut it into 6 sections, wedges, and with each wedge, I'm gonna take and I'm gonna roll out into these long finger type pieces of dough. They're about the size of your middle finger. And then once those are rolled out, I'm gonna take a bread spatula and I'm just gonna cut these gnocchis in about 1/2-inch sections. So goes pretty quickly. I do not have a gnocchi board to roll the gnocchi, which gives it that traditional hard line marks. But what you can do is with a fork, turn the gnocchi up on its side, just press the fork down and pull it out, and you have a mark for gnocchi. So once we get all of these cut up and marked, the good thing about this is if you want to make this as a side dish or as an appetizer starter, you've got all this you got to use. So I recommend once you mark all of these, put them on a cookie sheet, slightly seasoned with, or not seasoned, but slightly with a little bit of flour to keep them from sticking. Put them in the freezer once they're solidly frozen. Then you can put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the freezer, and keep them for next time. They cook real easily and fast. So here's some that I had already prepared that were in the freezer. To cook these, it's very simple. What we're gonna do is have a pot of boiling water. I don't season with salt or anything. This is just regular water. I'm gonna put the gnocchis into that water. Stir it up to break them up so they don't stick together. Turn the fire up a little bit, get it back to a rolling boil, and you know these gnocchis will be cooked because as you notice they are all in the bottom of the pot. Once they're fully cooked, they'll start to float. When they float, remove them from the pot. So while that's happening, I'm going to take a saute pan and I'm gonna melt about 2 tablespoons of butter. That's a pretty large portion, so I'm gonna use 3. So we're gonna bring our gnocchi back to a boil, get it boiling and cooking. Once the butter's melted, we'll come back and continue with our recipe. All right, so we're back. Our gnocchi is starting to come to the top of the water, as you can see. I've got the butter slightly browned, which is exactly where we want it. You'll notice on the side, the foaminess will start to brown. That's your cue that your butter's ready to go. So I'm just gonna take 5 or 6 of these fresh sage leaves, and those are gonna crisp up and they're gonna kind of season the butter. So we'll let that go for a little bit. And then we will take our gnocchi out of here. Slotted spoon, this is called a spider, makes it easy. Just put it on a cooling rack to where the moisture can drip down below it. And now we got the sage nice and crispy. So I'm going to take probably just about a third of the gnocchi that I cooked up here, because it's already hot, so this is not going to take long to cook. Keep the integrity of the gnocchi. It's always better to spoon the butter over and lightly turn these, because you don't want them to come apart, break apart. These are going to be like little dense pillows of spaghetti squash love. And like I said, this is a great appetizer. It's a great side dish. It's definitely awesome for the fall because the sage, which has earthy tones, and the brown butter. And then to finish it off, I like to use toasted pine nuts. You could use Parmesan cheese if you want. Really, it's up to you, but this is how I like it. So, and there we have it. Butternut squash gnocchi with crispy sage leaves and brown butter. Thank you for picking up your copy of the Ingles Table magazine and for trying my homemade butternut squash gnocchi with brown butter and sage. There are so many great recipes to be found here on the website, so be sure to check them out. I'll see you next time.